Hold on, did my new shit, did my new flow. Me and the bad little bitch when gag go to Pluto. Bitch really mad cause I got me a new hoe. Sliding on ice in the coupe, Tudo. For the little bitch, now she stalking shoe hoe. Bitch, I'm big, you know what I do, ho.
Run that back, Cloud.
Me off a spam, damn. I'm in the trap and I'm serving these grams. Texting these niggas like Uncle Sam. When I get to the bag, get this shit to the fam. My life is a movie, these niggas be acting. We might be digging, we both need a cam. Got this shit off the chain, you bitch, this thing that I put on the drill like I put it around. The nigga, you know what I'm saying? You love it.
What's up, YouTube? This is the Versus series on better players against each other. I'm gonna tell you who I believe is better. Starting off with Terrell Owens versus Randy Moss. So with the Versus series, since we're starting off with Terrell Owens and Randy Moss, which are players already retired, we can also talk about them going into the league, their prime, and also their weaknesses and strengths that makes them who they are, and go from there. And based on that, I'm gonna choose and decide why I believe which one is better. I'll with Randy Moss. Randy Moss was a beast, and that's an understatement. The man ran a 4.25 40 at 6'4". Just imagine Tyreek Hill was 6'4", but faster. That's basically who Randy Moss was. Coming out of college, Randy Moss was looked at as a tall receiver that had weaknesses, and his weaknesses was not being able to get off the ball and not being strong enough and not being good enough route runner, pretty much. And he kind of debunked all of those theories. Listen to this. Randy Moss' rookie stats was 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, and he played all 16 games with the Minnesota Vikings coming out of college. So that's pretty much the best rookie stat line for receivers. In Randy Moss' 14-year career, he pretty much forced defensive coordinators to have to double him or run coverages such as cover 3-man, cover 2-man, or cover 1, or just have to basically like make sure he's always doubled or have somebody on top of him at all times because he was that much of a vertical and deep threat. And we're not even going to talk about his catch radius, man. His radius was so ridiculous. He was able to catch the ball on all types of angles, all types of ways on the field, diving, one-handed, 360 in the air, just toe tap. You want it, you name it. Randy Moss was able to do it in his prime. Listen to this. Randy Moss' rookie stats was 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, and he played all 16 games with the Minnesota Vikings coming out of college. So that's pretty much the best rookie stat line for receivers. So let's get into his strengths. Pretty much his strengths was able to catch the ball at seamless, impossible angles. He was also had the ability to just outrun anybody because he was that much of a deep threat and how fast he was. And I will also say he was pretty good at catching the ball. He had pretty good hands for a receiver that height with that speed, because most receivers is either one or the other, and if they is both, they usually become just deep threats and they're not that good at catching the ball. But he was able to put it all in one package. The term Moss was pretty much named after Randy Moss. He got that name because the ability he was able to track the ball at his highest point and catch the ball over multiple defenders at a time, and just being able to put up video game plays. In 2007, a lot of people would say that would be his best year ever, as that season he had a little over 1,400 receiving yards, 23 touchdowns, and he also had under 100 catches that season. And by that season, he had the most touchdowns ever in receiving history with 23, and 1,400 receiving yards, being his second best receiving season ever. And that season he went to the Super Bowl with the Patriots, but they lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants. And his weaknesses pretty much was his durability, advancing with age, and also he wasn't that good of a route runner compared to the best receivers. And also he had occasional drops at times because he wasn't focused. But Randy Moss didn't have that much weaknesses compared to other receivers at all time. And around now, Randy Moss' side of things, his accolades. Second most receiving touchdowns of all time with 156. He had the fourth most receiving yards ever with 15,292, and he was 15th all time in catches. Man, Terrell Owens. This man was a character on the field with his celebrations and the way he taunted his opposing fans and teams, and the way he approached the game is like no other receiver that ever played. He was known for being a very physical receiver and his ability to catch the ball in traffic and down the middle. Very good route runner. His favorite routes to run mostly was slants and post routes. T.O. was a straight-up bully. He bullied corners, safeties for fun. With his 6'3", 224 frame, he was one of the biggest receivers in the league. At his peak, he had 1,452 yards and 97 catches with 13 touchdowns in the 2000 campaign. He also played in his one Super Bowl all on one leg against the Patriots, but he ultimately lost. His weaknesses was mostly off the field. He was a distraction at times and a locker room cancer, some may say. His antics off the field often draw teams away from him, free agency or trading for him, and even his own teams at times. Those things are the things that people tend to remember about him, not his outstanding play on the field. His antics off the field often draw teams away from him, free agency or trading for him, and even his own teams at times. Those things are the things that people tend to remember about him, not his outstanding play on the field. Now I'm going over his accolades before I choose who I think is a better player. He was third all time in receiving touchdowns with 153, third most receiving yards of all time with 15,934 yards, and 8th all time in receiving catches. Now it's time to tell you who I believe is the better player. They're both exceptional wideouts, they're both 2000s legends, and they both led their teams to at least one Super Bowl appearance. With that being said, who I believe is better is Randy Moss. Before I get any hate, let me explain. T.O. really has the whole package. Honestly, he's probably the better all-around receiver between the two. But the reason why I chose Moss is because the impact he brought to the game and to his teams he played for. When Moss came to the league, it was something that we never seen before. We haven't seen players that was 6'4", running 4.2 40s, and was able to catch the ball over anybody at any time they want to. Before I get any hate, let me explain. T.O. really has the whole package. Honestly, he's probably the better all-around receiver between the two. But the reason why I chose Moss is because the impact he brought to the game and to his teams he played for. But what edges out Moss over T.O. for me is the way Moss played the game. It was more of an impact for the NFL and also for his teams because he led them deeper in the playoffs, which is also what I'm getting to. The playoffs performances that Moss had were more consistent and there were better numbers than T.O. In Moss' playoff run, he had 977 yards with 57 catches in 15 playoff games. He went to the postseason 7 times. T.O. had 751 yards, 54 catches in 12 playoff games and 8 trips to the postseason. Although T.O. had one more playoff appearance than Randy Moss, he had worse numbers all around the board. And we can't forget about the off-the-field issues. The off-the-field issues that T.O. created for his teams year in, year out affected his team's performances and how they looked at him, how they wanted to play for him, and also how he wanted to play for his teams, and up and down mood swings and things of that nature. But hey, who wouldn't want to have Randy Moss numbers with no attitude and a team player on your team? I think I would take that any day. This video did take a long time to make, so I appreciate y'all. Y'all give me a like, comment, and subscribe if y'all enjoyed the video. And stay tuned, we'll have more.